undersized.
Okay.
This is I believe that this is a undersized guy that we picked up. But I believe that he may be a backup. But what do you think about Jarrett Kingston, the tackle slash guard that we got out of USC, the transfer senior?
Well, you can you can see the strength.
Okay.
He's got both lower. He's got speed and upper body strength. So and he's to me the guys that I looked at all four of the linemen, and I wanted to take a close look at those four linemen. To
Mhm.
me, Mays didn't look like much. Kind of an undersized guy. He's got some athletic traits, but he to me he didn't really demonstrate that. Nugent looked short, but man, what a wide body he is. I mean, he is a very broad offensive lineman. So that's a great sign because you want guys that are wide, that are hard to get around. So Nugent I thought looked pretty good.
Mhm.
Mays not so much. I loved the way that Puny looked, and I would say Kingston. Kingston looks like a guy with who's kind of got some. The one thing I liked about Kingston is he seems like he's the kind of guy that's got some nasty to him in that he'll keep the legs churning. He's gonna push. He's gonna use that upper body strength and really lean on you. Um, and he just seemed like a kind of a guy that is a little bit more of a tough guy fighter than I thought when I watched him at USC. So that I liked, and Puny looked, I thought, really really good. I mean,
That's what I want to get into. This
yeah,
so does
Puny looked good.
where does Puni look like he would play? Right guard? Would he be somewhere that's where we would put him?
He's a guard. He's a guard. I mean, I think the opening the Niners have is definitely at right guard. I mean, he could be a left guard at some point, I guess, if Banks left in free agency, they didn't sign him. But yeah, I think Puni's going to be in the running for that starting right guard spot. I mean, he can play tackle. He said he can play all five spots, but almost every person that you talk to thinks that he's going to slate in as a guard. But what's really nice is that he moves really well.
I was just
And
about to ask you, how are his feet?
yeah, I mean, he moves very well. I mean, this is probably their best moving offensive lineman. I mean,
Off rip.
of all of them, Brendel, Burford, Trent,
Trent?
he's a bit. Well, Trent's a gigantic human being, but this guy's 313 pounds. What's nice about Puny is when you watch him, you would swear he's like 275, 280 because he's moving, right? He's really moving. And then you look at it and you're like, yeah, he's 313 pounds. So, they haven't had, I mean, the Niners haven't drafted an offensive lineman that's really stuck, it seems like, in the high rounds. I mean, Banks is a second round pick, but they haven't drafted that many high draft choices. So we've seen a lot of practice squad level bodies and talent along the offensive line. So to see Puny out there, he really does stand out because he's big, he's rangy, he gets his feet moving, and he's nasty. So I mean, I think Puny has a great and we talked to him at the end of practice. Guy's got just a great attitude. He's thrilled to be there. He's really has high standards. He's a nice prospect for sure. He seems like a really good fit personality wise, and he's got that personality you love, which is he's humble and he's smart and he's competitive, but you can tell at the end of the day he loves the contact and the nastiness of being a super physical run blocking offensive lineman. So, I mean, there's lots of technique work to be done there. Coach. I mean, offensive and defensive line, people don't realize how much technique goes into it. It's so hugely technique rich.
Yeah.
And that's why you see older guys. That's why you see young guys struggle. And that's why you see old guys stick around a long time on the offensive and defensive line because it's so much about technique.
Once you lock it in, you've locked in. It's a certain type of football. to play in the trenches. Once you know how to play down there, you understand the angles, you understand the physicality that it takes, what your body has to put, what you have to put your body through. Then just the mental side of it. Yeah, I understand. One
And
thing
like
that I know,
Feliciano, I look at it like Feliciano versus Burford. Feliciano's been in the league forever. Um, he's taken his bumps and bruises. He's had his surgeries, but he still grades out higher than Burford, who in a lot of ways is young and fresh and has the perfect build to play offensive line. Right now, Feliciano grades out higher because it's such a technique rich thing and he's got the techniques down, despite the fact that he's diminished physically from what he was when he came out of Miami, but he's still churning away, playing pretty effective football because he's got the techniques down. So now it's just time to get their more talented guys, right? Who are the more talented guys in their line? Burford, Banks, Puni now. These are the guys that are, some of their better young talents on the offensive line. Coach those guys up, get those guys ready to roll. But they may have found something in Nugent because it looks like he looks like the kind of guy that, may have some issues with speed, but man, he's not an easy guy to go against. He's strong, he's smart, he's broad. There's a lot to like there with Nugent, despite the fact he was undrafted.
so wait a minute. So you think that Nugent actually has a chance to crack into the starting lineup?
Well, to make the team. Yeah, I think Nugent, just watching Nugent move around, it's like Nugent I know the kid is smart and, assignment sound. I know he's pretty decent technique wise. I know he's got some struggles against speedy nose guards, and there's a bunch in the league. But he also is one of those guys. He's really, really wide, and he's willing to stand there shoulder to shoulder and fight you. And to me, that's going to put him in the running against Brendel this summer. We'll see how it all shakes out, of course, in the game.
Can he run?
Yeah,
that's the only thing. Because he runs a 5'3", but that's the calling card of our offensive line. If you can't run, you can't play.
Yeah,
because it's the reach. If you can't reach, you can't play.
Yeah, he's not the best mover, but I thought he showed good feet in the drills. Yeah, at least moving around out on the practice field. So, he knows what his weaknesses are for sure. But that was an interesting undrafted free agent offensive lineman for sure, Drake Nugent.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I like about him, he's nasty. He's got strong hands. Playing center with 33-inch arms is a good length. It's not the best length, but it's a good length.
First team All Big Ten.
Yeah, first team All Big Ten.
Big Ten's pretty strong offensive line typically.
Yeah. Had a great career at Stanford. That's one thing too, is that I feel like if you're gonna transfer, lateral. You know what I mean? Lateral over. I mean, I personally get a little worried about these guys that are seniors at lower schools, and then they go to a bigger school and they put it all together playing against, talent as a senior. But one thing I will say is Drake Nugent is not that guy. The same level of football he's playing at Stanford can be lateral right over to Michigan. One thing that I do like about him is that even though he may not give you that long speed, in a phone booth, he's a motherfucker, bro. Excuse my French, but
he's thick. I mean, this is a broad guy. Everybody's built different. That's why you gotta, especially with the offensive linemen, you gotta go see them. You gotta go see them because, I remember the couple years ago, the Niners gave the most guaranteed money of all the undrafted free agents where they could pay a variable amount. They paid the most to Donovan West. And Donovan West was an Arizona State interior offensive lineman.
Swore he was going to be a dog.
I saw him one day and I was like, nope. I don't know whose idea it was to give this guy the money, but no, just not there.
Pause.
He had no shoulders at all. He was dumpy. His feet were heavy. His arm length was good, but he didn't have a lot of upper body development. I mean, it was just, I was sitting there watching this guy going, wow, they really thought this guy was the guy, this kind of slow, heavy-footed, carried most of his weight in his legs. And sure enough, he just was unimpressive and heavy-legged and got burned by speed, got burned by power up the middle. I mean, if you can't handle speed and you can't handle power, you can't play.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
Especially in the trenches. In the trenches, that's literally what you're gonna have to deal with on every rep. You have to deal with one or the other or both
right.
at all times. You can't
There's
hide in the
guys,
trenches.
there's guys in the league that can handle power but can't handle speed. Same of the opposite, but there's nobody in the league that can't handle either.
Both.
If
Yeah.
you can't handle speed or power, they're just,
You're a
you're
saloon
another.
door.
Yeah, you got to go find a different occupation.
You're a turnstile. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
So I mean, I agree, but sticking with that, if we're gonna stay
Nugent
with
can handle power. I don't know if he can handle speed.
okay, so if we're sticking with that, would you say that Nugent has a better out of the three offensive linemen? Do you see all three potentially being able to start on this team?
Well, I mean, so they got four, right? They got Puny and Kingston in the draft, and they got Nugent and Mays after the draft. To me, Nugent looks like he can't handle speed. Mays looks like he can't handle power. He looks like he's got quick feet, and he's a movement guy, but I don't know if he can handle the power because he seemed like he got overwhelmed at times. To me, just based on the one practice that I saw, Puny looks like a guy who could contend for a starting job right away and maybe be one of their maybe be one of their better offensive linemen, maybe even be a stalwart on the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kingston to me looks like he could potentially be a starting interior offensive lineman. I mean, he's got real good strength. He moves people with his upper body. He keeps his feet moving. He's got good feet. So, I mean, that he checks a lot of the boxes. So, I mean, I think he's probably, to me, Puny looks like a right guard who could maybe play right tackle. Kingston looks like a center who maybe could play guard. And Nugent looks like a center who couldn't play guard. And Mays
Okay.
Mays looks like a guy who's like a like a developmental practice squad offensive lineman at best. And that was
God
just
damn,
one
Larry.
day. That was just one day. But
All right, okay.
he's athletic though. I mean, Mays is athletic for sure, but you could see it was like the guys that he was going up against were stronger than him.